welcome to another video on the channel, and in today's video, we'll be going over part 2 of Jump Force's DLC characters. But before we start, I want to encourage you guys to help us achieve 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. I know it's possible, and with your help, we can get it done. If you haven't watched part 1 yet, I suggest watching that first before watching part 2. Well, that's enough introductions for one day. Let's jump right into the first DLC character that we'll be covering, which will be Majin Buu from Dragon Ball Z. This Patrick looking fellow is quite comical in terms of the moveset and just overall appearance. He's quite fun to play. Moving on to his moves, this first one is called Turn into Chocolate. This move does exactly what you would expect. If landed correctly, you will zap your enemies with a pink ray, turning them into a chocolate bar. Then, you will eat them and fart them back into the battlefield. Honestly, it took me a few tries before landing this attack, but every time I got it, the little animated clip after executing the move always made me smile. The only downside to this move is that you have to be very close to your enemy to perform this move correctly. But besides that little inconvenience, this move is overall my favorite while using Buu. Moving on to his second move, Vaporize, which he will emit an energy ball which will take your opponent with it as well, creating some sort of nice distance between the two. Honestly, this move comes in handy if you just want to charge your energy and just need a couple of extra seconds to do so. His third skill goes by the name of Now Buu Mad. If you press square on the PS4 controller while holding the stance, it will bring the opponent towards you, and you will have the opportunity to execute some cool combos. Its second function is to create an opening or just some distance between the two. If you click triangle on the PS4 controller, it will push air at your enemy and knocking him away. Talking about knocking people away, his ultimate technique is all about that. It goes by the name of Now Buu Hates You. He will create a powerful energy blast, sending debris flying, which is a nice cinematic touch, showing how much power is behind this pink and chubby menace. For an overall score, I have to give Buu a 4.5, because of his overall appearance is identical to the anime, and his diverse moveset puts him up there. But the only downside to this is his move, Turning into Chocolate. The only thing I don't like about this is the range on it, and for me, it's not quite there yet. It could be improved. Moving on to the second DLC we will be covering, Toshiro Hitsugaya, the captain of the 10th Division from Bleach. This icy cold character is quite diverse and has some cool cinematic moves. His first move goes by the name of Hail Flower Dragon. He dashes towards the enemy and pierces them with his icy sword. The move can easily be countered by just blocking or just by simply moving out of the direction the dash is taking place. In my opinion, the best time to use this move will be when opponents are knocked down and you wait for that split second to get back up and you use it. This move can also be implemented in combos or just quick attacks. Just make sure not to overdo it when using this move because your opponent can simply read it and then punish you later for it. His second move is more long range or just an overall projectile. It goes by the name of Icicle Birds. This move will summon Ice Bird towards your opponent, dealing a small amount of damage, like most projectiles. This move is also really easy to block just by moving out of the way or just simply blocking. Honestly, it's just nice to have a projectile in there somewhere. 6-point ice formation is one of my favorite moves. The reason why is because I like to have those strategic moves in there. And also, just the satisfaction of hitting your opponent with this move feels great. Having the ground underneath them turn into a gigantic ice pillar is cool on its own. But on to the main event, his ultimate technique, 4-element freeze. This move will freeze the entirety of the map and freeze all surroundings, including the air you breathe. After using his ultimate, he will remain in his adult form for the rest of the match, which is kinda cool, an added bonus. For me, this character's top tier in terms of his moves and overall resemblance from the original show. In my opinion, he's on the same level as Kaiba. So far, these are my top 2 favorite characters at the moment, and I'll have to give them both a perfect score of a 5. Moving on to the My Hero franchise, Bakugou is fun to play. His appearance is identical to the series, and his character dialogue really brings this character to life. My only concerns involving this character are his moves. His moves are like All Might's in terms that you have to be awfully close in order to execute them. Let's start with his AP shot auto cannon. It gives him the appearance that it's a long range attack, but the distance is not really there. This move fires a barrage of tiny explosives towards the enemy. It's cool in its own way, but I feel like it's not quite there yet. His second move, Burst Speed, on the other hand, is faster to execute, and just a superior move overall. You blast your way towards your opponent and deliver a deadly blast towards them. I honestly rather use this move than the AP shot, but that's entirely dependent on the player's playstyle. On to my favorite move, the stun grenade. Honestly, it's one of my favorite moves because if landed correctly, you can give your opponent a nice debuff, which can be a speed debuff or a resistance debuff, which is a cool perk if you think about it, compared to other moves that boost your attack or resistance level. By far, one of my favorite moves to use when talking about Bakugou as a whole. Kazawa Impact is Bakugou's ultimate move. He blasts himself up in the air, creating some kind of dark tornado made from debris, all while delivering the most deadliest explosion he's ever created. In all reality, he's a cool character to play, don't get me wrong, but his only downside is his lack of long range attacks. His appearance is there, he has every single aspect regarding that, and his moves are really similar to the original series, but the lack of long range attacks makes him limited to be vulnerable to them. So I have to give Bakugou a 3.5 out of 5, because he doesn't have all the elements in my opinion to be on a 4 or just a 5 overall. The fourth DLC character that we'll be covering is Grimmjow from Bleach. This cool antagonist has some cool and destructive fun abilities. Starting with his Grand Ray Zero, which fires a blast of Reiji towards your opponent, which is considered to be a long range attack, and if you hold it long enough, you can get a nice little animated scene. Again, being a long range attack, it's pretty simple to dodge, or just to counter overall, just hold block or just move out of the way. Garra de la Pantera is a cool projectile he sends out, and deals some cool and nice amount of damage. Depending how much charge or energy your character has, it depends how much he can keep using this move. You can keep spamming the move until the bar reaches 0, or you can stop manually, it's entirely up to you. By far one of my favorite projectiles in the game. Moving on to his third ability, Jaw Split. It's a hard ability to land, because you jump upwards then come crashing down on your opponent. But if you do get the chance to get your opponent with this move, the damage is more than worth it. His ultimate move, the Zagaron Grimmjow, activates his Bankai and turns him into a Panther type hollow, with his distinct weapon, which are Reiji Claws, that are extremely destructive, which can be used to slash your opponent in half. Honestly, I have to give Grimmjow 3.5. His moves are pretty basic, and the only move I dislike is his Jaw Split. The last DLC character that we'll be covering will be Law from One Piece. His appearance to the show is identical, and I have no complaints whatsoever on his appearance. On to his moves, most of them are really close range except one of them, so let's get started. To start it off, we have his injection shot, which he marks his target and proceeds to pierce them with his sword, like if it were an injection. It's quite a quick move, so be sure to find the right opportunity to use it. His tack move is also fun to use because it has unlimited range, but his drawback is that it's quite slow to execute. The move consists of a big spike emerging from the ground made out of stone, piercing the enemy. Honestly, it can be blocked by just holding the block button or just simply moving it out of the way. So it's quite easy to block, but if you throw a few combos in there and then use it after a moment notice, you can get him with it. His radio knife is the move I use the most. For this character, he teleports in front of the opponent and slashes them. Then he proceeds to do it again, but mid-air and upside down, which is pretty cool, and the little animated scene makes it all the more worth it. Moving on to his ultimate move, his Gamma Knife. He slashes his opponent upward in the air, then he proceeds to teleport with two swords. Then, with a knife made out entirely of energy or gamma, he delivers the final blow, destroying the opponent. I would have to give Law from One Piece a rating of 3.5, just because his limited skill set in terms of long range. He only has tack, and the move is quite easy to read. But that's all for today's video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and remember, if you haven't watched part 1 yet, I highly recommend it, so you guys don't miss out what characters are included in the character path. That's all for today's video. Hope you guys enjoy, stay safe, and I will see you in the next one.